Hey, this is Mike Mitchell with Progressive Church Media, and in this quick tutorial, I want to talk about how you can make your PowerPoints more accessible. I think a lot of churches, when you think about being welcoming and affirming, people often will think about how we do that in terms of sexual orientation or race or gender, but I think it's also important for churches to think about how to become more welcoming for people who have different levels of ability or disability. And so that's what we're going to talk about today is how you can build some additional accessibility into your PowerPoints. Now, if your church is the type that uses PowerPoint to communicate different things, this is a good thing to do. And it's actually pretty easy. Now, I am using Microsoft PowerPoint. I'm on a Mac. If you're on a Windows computer, this is all pretty standard and the same. Some of these features have been introduced in some of the newer versions of PowerPoint. So depending on how old your version of PowerPoint is, you may or may not have access to all of these tools. So I just want to kind of throw that out there before we really get started. So one of the things, and really what I'm going to focus on today, is how you can embed some additional things into your PowerPoint to make them more usable for people, especially who have some kind of a visual impairment. So I'm just in PowerPoint and I've just got a blank slide here. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm just going to come out here and we'll type, this is my headline. Really groundbreaking stuff here so far, and I'm just going to make that a little bit bigger, and we'll just kind of move it up there. So typically on a PowerPoint slide, you're going to have some text, either a header or bullet points. And if a person has a visual impairment, they might be using a screen reader. That's a piece of software that you can install on your computer. There are versions of it available both for Mac and for Windows. There are many free ones available. And so most people who have some sort of visual impairment will have that software installed. And so if they open up something like a PowerPoint file, that screen reader is going to be able to actually read this text to them. So far so good. So we don't really need to do anything with text because, again, if the user is using screen reading software, then they're good to go. The screen reader will be able to read that text, no problem. But yeah, as you think about it, PowerPoint is a very visual tool, and so it's likely that you're going to maybe do something like this. So I'm just going to go grab a photo, and I'm just going to grab this photo of a cross, and let me get all this. What did I just do? I don't want that. That's what I want. I'm just going to make this a little bit smaller and bring this over here. And so here we've got this image. Now, with an image, a screen reader isn't going to really know, what to do with that. It's not going to know what that is. But we can take an additional step. It only takes a few moments to add some information so that a screen reader can describe what this image is. And so the way you do this, I'm going to come over here. I'm just selected the image with my mouse, and I can right click. And when you do that, you're going to see an option, again, depending on the version of PowerPoint you have, you may or may not have this, called Edit Alt Text. You'll also see, by the way, in my version of PowerPoint, it's included in the menu up here. So I could also get it to it this way. But I'm going to come back down here, right click, Edit Alt Text. And now what I can do, again, very briefly, it's asking me to describe this with any context that's needed so that someone who is blind or visually impaired can do this. Now, one of the cool things that Microsoft has introduced in again, some of the newer versions of PowerPoint is it's tacked into some artificial intelligence that actually can make a pretty good guess at writing this description for you. So I'm going to actually do that just so you can see. And so you can see it analyzed this and it came up with a room with art on the wall. You know, that's not bad. It's not exactly right, but and it's even telling me here that this automatically generated description, it's doing that with a medium level of confidence. We're going to get rid of that, and I'm just going to put on here a white notebook So now, you know, I just put that in there, a white notebook featuring a bright pink cross on the cover set against a white background. That kind of describes what that is. And so now that I'm done, I can click and we're good to go. I can do that sort of thing not only with images, but for example, let me come back over here and let's go to home just to make sure, whoops, that I'm there. And let's put in a shape. And let's grab an arrow. You know, we'll grab this guy. And let's say, you know, maybe we're going to make an arrow pointing to the photo. So again, I have the same option here. So for shapes, I can also, with the shape selected, you'll notice, same thing, edit alt text, a blue arrow pointing toward the left side of the screen. Boom. So now that we've got our elements here on the screen, you know, we've told the screen reader, obviously it can read that headline. We've put in alt text so it will be able to describe this image, and we've also put in alt text so it can describe this shape. You know, the final thing though that we want to do, again, just to make this as user-friendly and accessible as possible for as many people as possible, is we can actually embed information within this slide so that we know the right order. So if you think about it, when you're doing a PowerPoint presentation, there's probably a flow of how you want people to read the information that you have on the slide. So often, you know, the headline would be the first thing that they would read, and then if you had other text or maybe some bullet points, you might want them to read that next, and then finally, maybe you would want them to look or attend to the images. But you can actually embed the correct flow within PowerPoint so that when a screen reader software encounters this, it's going to pick up that information and it will read things in the right order. Again, it's a small thing, but if you think about it, it's a very powerful thing. And so let's pretend that this is the order that we would like people to hear this information. First the headline, then the arrow, and then finally the photo. So in order to set that, I come up here under, again, I'm on the home area here. I come up under arrange, and you're going to want to look for this selection pane. So let me select this, and you'll see right now here is the order that things would be read. So first it would be the arrow, and then the picture, and then the text box, which is our headline, which is almost exactly the way we don't want it. You'll notice right now, because I've got the little eyeball on, then what that is signifying is it's going to actually read all of these things. I can turn things off if I want to hide them, but I don't want to do that. But I do want to change the order. So I want the text box to be first, and then we said then the arrow, and then the photo. Now again, if we wanted to switch that around, we could. But that's all you have to do, is you just put them in the right order, and now when a screen reading piece of software encounters this slide, it's going to see that information, and that's going to be the order it's going to do. So it would do the headline, then this alt text, and then the alt text for that photo. So again, this is all stuff, it doesn't really take that much extra time, as you can see. There's one last thing that I want to show you, again, that can kind of come in handy if you're thinking about this. And again, you may or may not have this depending on which version of PowerPoint you have, but PowerPoint actually includes a check. Just like there's spell check, there's also a check to check for how accessible your PowerPoint presentation is. If you come up here under Review, you'll see right there, check accessibility. So if I click on that, then it's going to say that I'm missing a title slide. That's because I put my own headline in here. And then it's also just suggesting to me, hey, make sure you check your reading order for this slide, which we've actually done. But it's reminding me to do that here. So if I was missing, let's say, alt text on this image, that would show up over here. In fact, you know what? Let's just do that so you can see. Let me take it out. And now, if I click, aha, look at that. It's telling me that particular image is missing the alternative text. And if I'm not sure how, it's telling me right down here exactly how to fix that problem. So again, right click, edit alt text, and we're good to go. So I hope that this quick little tutorial helps you be more mindful and maybe more attentive about how to take even very visually heavy things like PowerPoint slides and make them more accessible, because I know in your heart you want your church to be as welcoming as possible to everybody. Take care.